Yes.
Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Team Talk. I am your co-host, Mark Iorio, along with my friend here, Milton Corsey.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be with you today.
How are you, man?
I'm doing great.
You look good.
Oh, right.
You look good.
That's right. Thank you.
Clean up nicely.
As you.
We have, thank you. We have a special guest here, all the way from Mumbai, India, Marc Sen, who is the founder and CEO of Sense and Culture Outcome. And we're just delighted, Mark, to have you on the show. It's our pleasure.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's just an absolute pleasure to be here. And Milton, thank you for being there as well. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be there.
Great to have you. Great to have you, Mark. Mark, you know, in Team Talk, we talk a lot about, bringing diverse cultures together, diverse influencers together in an organization to make it better, to make it more, just a better, more profitable organization. But really bringing diverse thought, diverse, cultures and ethnicities and race and gender together. Our goal is to really build an inclusive organization. And you've done that over your career very nicely. What do you believe, Mark, it takes for an organization to be inclusive? What does that mean to you?
That's an extremely pertinent question in the world that we live in today, Mark. And I will possibly give you my beliefs that has come to me over years of experience. And I've realized that actually organizations do not become inclusive by itself. Mm-hmm. It's the people who make up organizations make it either an inclusive or a non-inclusive organization. Mm-hmm. And while there is so much of talk today about making organizations inclusive, there appears to be a sort of a belief that organizations per se can become inclusive. But if really I look at an inclusive workplace, to me, I think it's not only about recruiting diverse people, promoting diverse employees, be it diversity of gender, be it diversity of race, caste, color, whatever it is. It's not only about having such people with them. I think an inclusive organization is one who is aware of and very, very tolerant about the presence of diversity and the necessity of being inclusive. So just creating a diverse mix does not guarantee inclusion.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mark. Thank you. Thank you.
I couldn't agree more, Mark. Like my next question, kind of follow up on kind of what you explained to us very, very eloquently. There is kind of like, how do we build that though? What are the building blocks? Or if you want to think about it in terms of a recipe, right? What are the ingredients to make that happen?
Well, I think if I really look at the building blocks, and if I say that organizations which are inclusive are actually built by people, I think one of the greatest building blocks that I see is not by building teams. I mean, with many of my clients, I have been very candid in my conversation with them. Whenever an organization has felt that their teams require a team event, we that I possess as teams requires a culture, a culture of inclusion. It's a very paradoxical statement that teams don't create inclusion. But an inclusive culture can create very, very strong teams.
That's well put.
So therefore, yes, Mark.
Yeah, that's well put.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. Love that very much.
Yeah, continue on. So I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So I think to me, an inclusive culture is not only about just encouraging diversity. Now, question therefore arises: how can this be built? And I think the first founding blocks, and I think there are about 5 founding blocks according to me, and I think the first founding pillar of this is a commitment to inclusion that has to be exhibited to leadership. Leadership has to exhibit that commitment to inclusion. Now the question is, how does one do it? So in my experience, what I have seen, wherever I have seen inclusive organizations, be it large global organizations or Indian organizations, these organizations which possess an inclusive culture actually have leadership role holders possess the courage to exhibit actions by saying, hey, I am willing to listen to you.
Yeah.
That's the first block. I mean, I think this next block, according to me, is the responsibility of leadership to give opportunities for others to contribute.
Yep.
And I think the greatest of all is the capability of leadership to admit mistakes or make authentic submissions about the fact they don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
To carry on from there, I think diversity is to encourage inclusion, right? An inclusive culture starts to form when people are listened to. And leadership displays the ability to suspend their own biases and stops judging people. You just can't afford to judge people and operate within your own biases and then hope that you're an inclusive organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in my experience, I think this is the best one that I've experienced. And I've experienced that lovely examples of inclusive organizations which I have seen has been where the air is good to breathe in teams. Wow. And leadership exhibits actions by which the psychological safety of employees is ensured. Now, this can happen when leadership encourages sharing of mistakes. That makes others comfortable. And all around, it becomes a great place to speak up. And when people start speaking up, ideas emerge. And when that is encouraged, that creates the energy for creation of an inclusive organization. So I don't know whether I was able to make sense, Mark and Milton, but that's been virtually my experience, which I thought I'll just transmit it to you.
No, and Mark, I thought that made perfect sense. That you had some really, really important points. I think that I appreciate you sharing that with our audience.
Yeah, no, that's important. I mean, I mean, when you start to get to the real soul and the heart of an organization, and you know, Mark, a lot of what you said here is not only listening to the people inside the organization, but actually taking action and doing something about it. And oftentimes, the reason cultures and organizations do not change is because there is no implementation plan. There's no strategy to then say, here is who we are as an organization. Let's listen to everyone in the organization by whatever means you might do that. But now what? Now what do we do? And why, Mark, in your view, why is that really even important? You've seen in cultures around the world, you've worked for some large organizations, you're running your own firm for many years, but you know, cultures in societies are different. But you know, why is it important to have, in your mind, an inclusive team culture?
You know, Mark, that's a point very well put. I really appreciate you asking me this question. And I'll just take a step back. And the step back is, you know, I've always felt this from the word that you used struck me, you know, is the very soul of an organization. To me, the word culture is not really always associated necessarily with an organization. We all have cultures in our families, and we strive our level best to actually form a culture in the families that we live, whatever it might be. And all of us, I'm sure, we try and strive towards creating an inclusive culture in our families that we live in. We try and include everyone.
Right.
Now, here is the same person who is so adept at making an inclusive culture back home, but the same person goes outside to work and finds it difficult to create an inclusive culture. And one really has to push it and say, you know what, you're going to create an inclusive culture. I'm sorry, I am digressing a bit, a tad. But I think what inclusiveness creates in organization is the glue. The glue towards creating employee belongingness.
Yeah.
That to me is the crux. That to me is the primary gift of having an organization that's inclusive.
Well put.
And once this happens, then people want to come and work for you.
Yeah.
And then efficiency moves up automatically.
Yeah, very, very well put.
Yeah, outstanding.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, a follow-up question on that. If you could help us, if you could kind of share with us a little bit, Mark, about exactly how does cultural outcome, your company, help its clients? What exactly is it that you guys do?
So I think at Culture Outcome, we operate with certain beliefs that today, if I look at an organization, especially in the post-pandemic era that we are going to face for some time to come, I think the need is to look at themselves very systemically and move away from their linear ways of looking at their organization. It's no longer going to be an input-output model that would succeed over a long period of time. What we at Culture Outcome do is we use the depth of accumulated wisdom and knowledge of ourselves and our board of advisors who are close friends to help an organization focus on three aspects. And the three aspects are essentially rather two aspects, which is people and processes. And we actually help our clients to go to a place of sustained output. Now, when clients engage with us, what do they get? They get access to our and our global associates' proprietary platforms, through which they are able to assess their current states in various key aspects of their organizations, be it the downstream systems of the input that is provided or the upstream systems in terms of the value they provide to their customers.
Right.
Right? They also get an insight into what are their triggers, which are currently there for actually helping their organizations and their employees get to a place of having a meaningful quality of work and life, which according to me leads to great innovation and great culture. So with us, with Culture Outcome, what we are focused on is helping organizations create first or rediscover first their purpose, and also then help them creating cultures that ensure outcomes by actually helping them turn their vision into reality. That in a nutshell is what we are attempting to do with Culture Outcome.
Well said, Mark. Thank you for that explanation. Now, so when you talk to a CEO and they're saying, listen, Mark, this is wonderful, Culture Outcome is terrific. It's a terrific company. We really want to look at our purpose. We want to understand what our purpose is. But the bottom line here is that I am being forced by my investors, whether it's private equity, venture cap, publicly traded, or a board of directors. I'm interested in actual metrics. We're going to let you answer that question, and we're going to go to a commercial break and come back and maybe finish that up.
So, as I understand, Mark, your question is how do we actually make it tangible?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Mark, thank you. That's a lovely one. I think, to me, our focus in Culture Outcome is tangibility, because culture by itself is a very intangible aspect of an organization.
Yeah.
So every time we talk to a CEO and talk about culture, he probably repeats the same statement which you have told me, saying that, Mark, this is all good, but culture is so intangible. How do you measure culture?
Right.
Well, what we help them focus is culture in an indirect way. But our main focus is a couple of platforms. How efficient is their organization today? And I'm sure efficiency can be measured. How effective is the quality of output that everybody produces? What are those value-added processes that are there in the organizations? To what extent are employees really engaged? And so on and so forth. And I think a lot of these metrics, Mark and Milton, are actually very, very measurable. But in a very beautiful way, all these add up to the culture of an organization.
That's great. All right, Mark, we're going to have to take a quick commercial break. We will come back, and we've got additional questions for you. This has been great. We really love talking to Marc Sen.
Absolutely, it's been great.
Brilliant
Decided to
interview.
break.
We'll be right back after a message from our sponsors.
Thanks so much, Mark and Milton.
Let me
2020 election is right around the corner. RVN TV encourages you to register and vote. To get information about how to register and the different methods to vote this election season, visit vote.gov. Every vote counts, so don't delay.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
Welcome back to Team Talk. I am your co-host, Mark Iorio, along with Milton Corsey, and we're, boy, what a great interview. I love talking to Mark. He's very insightful. Marc Sen, CEO and founder of Sense in Mumbai, India, and also Culture Outcome. I mean, Culture Outcome just by itself tells you what they do as an organization, right?
Absolutely. It's pretty much right there in the name.
Yeah, it's right there.
It's fantastic stuff. You know, Mark, thank you so much again. This has been a fantastic show so far. I'm really enjoying the interview. And one of the things that's coming across to me as we're speaking is your energy, your passion for this subject matter. And I'd really like to know kind of like, you know, where does that come from? What drives you to build these balanced, inclusive organizations? Why is that so important to you?
That's a tough one, Milton. That's a real tough one. So anyway, I'm going to actually fall for that, and I'm going to take that up and say, okay, I think, you know what, Milton, when I got my job with the large global multinational that I work with, I asked my CEO, and I said, look, I have no skills, but why are you recruiting me? And he said, you know, my friend, I think you have the passion. Now, he seeded this thought, and I kept myself asking, I said, where does this passion come from? And I think over the years, I realized that I think the passion comes from a big driver, and the driver is two things. I think two drivers. One is to contribute, and the next one is to create. And if I may just think on the fly and add third one here, I would say, well, to prove to myself that even idealistic scenarios can mature into reality. Idealism always does not necessarily have to stay in the world of gray. So I think what triggers me and eggs me on as a person is the drive to create something which is beneficial for organizations, which contributes to the lives of people. I think that's some of the biggest triggers that I would see contributing to my efforts here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark, you know, we've talked for a long time, and it just seems to me, and Milt, you probably get the same sense from Mark, that he's got this passion, this soul for wanting to get people to, we call it, you know, just rowing in the same direction, singing from the same sheet of music. And now, Mark, with not just the multinational global organization that you worked for, and you can mention their name if you wish, but also with Culture Outcome and Sense. How do you get your clients to understand that they all need to sing from the same sheet of music or row in the same direction? How is that possible? How do you go about doing that?
Well, to be honest, I think not many clients find it easy to understand that everybody has to row in the same direction.
Man, you're not kidding. Yeah.
However, I certainly believe through my years of working that making people row in the same direction and pull for one another cannot happen through team building games and simulations. Mm-hmm. To me, this can only be ascertained or achieved by finding out the true north.
Yeah.
Finding out the purpose, right? And quantifying attributes and behaviors. I think once this happens, the members of a team have something which I think I have learned from you, Mark, is something like, which is called as a rolled target. They have something to work towards. Mm-hmm. And this ensures alignment, which is everybody working in the same direction everybody pulling for each other. Now, to make everybody row in the same direction and pull for one another is handled also when in organizations and in teams, the dysfunctional attributes are identified and eliminated by the team leader. And these are below the level, below the eyesight processes. So to me, nothing else can build a team like objectivity does.
Yeah.
And this is where I feel a process like BCAT can actually help us move towards that.
Wow. Wow.
So
Thank
what
you.
I do with my clients, Mark, is I actually tell them that, look, these things which has been done in the past definitely is not going to be the way forward. Because today we're talking about remote teams. Today we're talking about culture integration when working is going to be from home for some time to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good point. Can I just elaborate on that just a bit? This multinational organization that you worked for years, Mark, had a culture of innovation, right? And what permeated through throughout the organization that spoke to that single word, innovation? What did that mean to you as an employee of that organization?
I am assuming you were asking me about my experiences with an organization who has innovation as a culture.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So I think great point and a great story, Mark. And I think this raises my hackles every time I think about it. This is way back in the 90s when I think I had gone to work for a large U.S. multinational, and this was my first stint at what is called as learning and development. And somewhere while I was working on the structure, I felt like adding some music onto it. And I said, I walked up to the manager and said, what do you think? Can I add a music track here? Can I do something in music for about 10 minutes? And my expectation was that my manager is going to tell me, you must be joking. Music has never been done before. We are a straight-jacketed organization. That's the place where I came from before I joined this organization.
Uh-huh.
But I think to my absolute surprise, the reply I got is, so do it if you feel like doing it. So I came out, took a break, took about 10 minutes for the whole thing to sink in. And then I went back to him and I said, do you seriously mean that I can do it? He said, yeah, do it. So I said, what if I fail? He said, well, if I fail, I'll back you up.
Wow.
And then I said, okay, what if I succeed? He said, well, if you succeed, then the glory is yours. So I guess, when that culture, that organization spoke about innovation, it was actually embodied in the spirit which leadership followed. So to me, innovation happens when one enables people to try, to make those mistakes, and to actually probably fail.
Wow.
Well, the question is, of course, in my mind, Mark, how many CEOs in the world today are actually looking at a fail-proof culture? And how many CEOs are looking at a culture of innovation?
Wow.
Yeah,
That's powerful, isn't it?
It is. You know what it made me think about? When you were talking about, your manager and him supporting you and saying that failure is okay, kind of reminded me of watching a child take his first couple of steps, right?
Yeah.
And that falling down is part of the process, right? That you are only learn to walk if
Yeah.
you're willing to take the risk of falling, and that's an important thing. One last quick question for you.
Yep.
Because I know I have a few people, who I always look to, who inspire me when I think about, great teams, great organizations. Is there somebody or something out there that inspires you, that you say, that I would love to have the same impact that this person had on my life, or something of that nature?
I would request Milton to share the question again. You were not very audible. I'm sorry.
Oh, my apologies. I'll try to speak a little slower. Sometimes I get excited, I talk fast. But at any rate, no, what I was asking you is, I know for me personally, there are a few people who are inspirational to me, right? I look at and I think about building a great team or great organizations. There's people who I look at and go, wow, these particular individuals had it figured out. Is there somebody who inspires you in that way, that you look to and go, wow, they kind of had it right, and I want to head down that same path?
Well, Milton, I really don't believe in the aspect of role models.
Okay.
Though I know I have had role models in my life, but I'm not sure as to how much of an imprint role models have made. But I think my greatest inspiration has been some of the past managers that I work with, who have actually ensured I am where I am today. And they've just done it, and I think they have set a fantastic example in front of me, saying that, it's not about getting output only. Output is going to come. But what's most important is, are you connecting? And that's been my inspiration. My inspiration has been some of the great managers that I've had the fortune of working with. In fact, Milton, one of the things that I used to look forward to when I was in my last assignment with the great organization, the multinational that I used to work for, was my performance appraisal discussions. And I have never had a performance appraisal discussion where my performance has been appraised, but we've had a discussion. We've had discourses. And I think those are the subtle pieces which I have picked up, and I think they have become inspirational points for me. Even in my organization, I'd rather connect than talk output.
Marc, this has been a fantastic 30 minutes. We so appreciate you coming on to Team Talk and talking to us about sense and culture outcome and your experience in building great teams. How do people get in touch with you and the organization?
Well, they can get in touch with me on our newly formed website, which should be live in the next 10 days. It's going to be called www.cultureoutcomes.com. Or they can get in touch with me on mark.sen@sensindia.com.
And
or on
LinkedIn.
my mobile number, which I'm available, it's 919820427426.
And also on LinkedIn, right? You're also on LinkedIn. Very
Yeah, I'm
active
there
on
on LinkedIn. Thanks, Mark, for reminding me that I'm on LinkedIn, and you can always get connected with me on LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Marc, it's been an absolute pleasure. We will see you soon. Be safe out there. We enjoyed the interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Milton. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you guys. You really made it lovely for me. Thank you so much for the opportunity once again.
Our pleasure.
Fantastic. Pleasure's all ours.
Our pleasure.
Pleasure's all ours, my friend.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap for Team Talk for this week. We got a full scale, man, for the rest of the year. So
Yep.
Stay tuned. We'll see you next time on Team Talk.
Take care.